Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's a big day. It's a knife day, because it is episode 150 of KnifeAQ, the knife series where I answer all your questions, sharp or dull, and this week we're going to be doing things a little bit different to commemorate the occasion. So let's get into it.
Have a knife day.
So what we thought we'd do today, rather than pulling submissions from the questions you folks leave in the comments, which is what we normally do, we'd take this opportunity to show you guys some of the faces behind the Knife Center. We essentially put the word out to the staff here at the Knife Center that it was their turn to submit questions for this series. And we figured, holiday season and all, it's a really good chance for you folks to see the faces. Meet some of these people who are taking care of your orders, taking care of your customer service questions, this, that, and the other thing. I thought it'd just be something a little bit fun to celebrate episode 150. It's a lot. It's a lot of these episodes. So I've got some knives here on the table in front of me to answer their questions. First, we're going to go to Malachi, who's one of our customer service reps, and is one of the folks who you guys will speak to if you call up here at the Knife Center.
If David could design a weekly calendar for everyday carry where the first letter of the day of the week matches the first letter of something to do with knives, for example, Fixed Blade Friday, what would it look like?
All right, so this is kind of fun, and you could go a lot of different ways with this because there are some things apart from just Fixed Blade Friday that do exist out there, and I'm gonna lean on that a little bit. We're gonna fill in the gaps a little bit. Let's start with Monday. And longtime viewers of this channel know I'm a fan of the Nessmuck blade design. Funny thing, starting this episode with that. So we got to do Monday Muck Day, which would give me an opportunity to carry or display, any number of the awesome Nessmucks I have. Today, I'm going with this Fiddleback Forge Nessmuck with the primitive handle wrap. It's essentially leather and hemp wrap epoxied onto the handles rather than what the Fiddleback Forge is really known for, their insanely comfortable sculpted handles. This is a little bit different, but this is a pretty sweet thing for just carrying around. It lays nice and flat, it's still comfy enough. A2 steel on this, I believe, and awesome design, awesome looking blade shape, huh? Monday Muck Day. Gotta have more excuses to carry a Nessmuck. Tuesday, we're gonna go with the classic Tonto Tuesday. And I could have gone with that new We Knife Company release with the worn toe blade, because that's kind of a Nessmuck too, but even though they call it, it's kind of a modified Tonto thing. Anyway, we'll do a picture up here so you know what the heck I'm talking about. But I'm gonna carry this for Tonto Tuesday, because it is my favorite Tonto bladed folder on the marketplace, simply by the fact it is the only Tonto bladed folder that I currently own. The M4 version of the Benchmade Bailout. This is a sweet knife. The aluminum handle scales are slim in the pocket, but super durable, or sorry, I should say super stable feeling. It's got a very awesome and strong feel in the hand. Then you've got M4 blade steel for extra toughness, which allows them to keep the blade extra thin so it slices really well without giving up some of that durability as well. And of course, that nice leading Tonto edge for scraping or piercing. Bail there at the back with the glass breaker, axis lock. I love this knife. This is a really cool knife. So we're Monday Muck Day, Tonto Tuesday. We could go with Wharncliffe Wednesday, that's a thing. And I'll have a few things to show there too, but I also don't own a ton of straight up Wharncliffes either. I do own a few, but we're gonna go with Handmade Hump Day, which is really just an excuse to carry another Nessmuck. But bonus points if it's something you made yourself, like I did with this Nessmuck right here. Got my DCA icon right there on the front, and this is fun. Yeah, there's a few things not perfect with it. The edge might be a little thick, but I'm super happy with the way the handle finishing came out. Black linen micarta looks extra good. And there's just something about carrying something that's handmade. Whether you made it, that makes it extra special, but whether you made it or something that someone else made, there's something really nice about that feeling you get carrying a handmade item. So Handmade Hump Day, fixed or folder, take your pick. Now for those of you that do celebrate Wharncliffe Wednesday, I got two right here I want to talk about just given the time of the year we're in, it's the time of good deals and good gifting options. The Kaiser Swayback. This is our KnifeCenter exclusive version with a CPM 4V blade steel. So very tough, great edge retention, powder metallurgy, marked down right now to just $50 or $49.95 or $99, something like that. It's a $50 knife right now, and that is insane for an American-made particle metallurgy blade. The knife is imported, but the steel is made here in the States. Button lock action is nice and crispy. You've got the flipper tab as well. Super, super nice. Black linen micarta, not high polished like this black linen on the this handmade muck right here, which has some more black in it in general than this one right here. But man, that is a sweet deal, and it's a sweet design, and it's a true Wharncliffe with a completely straight edge right there. Not a lot of modern Wharncliffe blades are true Wharncliffes. Which brings me to the Gerber Savvy, also worth mentioning. This is one of the few kind of Wharncliffe blades I own anymore as well, and it is a really sweet knife. It's about $250, made in the USA, 20 CV blade steel, crossbar lock, reversible pocket clip, reversible thumb stud, nice and narrow, very nice, larger gentleman's knife option, and it's a modified Wharncliffe, I'd say, thanks to the little bit of belly you got going on right here. Check these out. I really like the oversized brass pivots in these, or brass washers in these. They help it maintain a super stable open position that a lot of crossbar locks don't manage to do. And this one's really nice. So check those out. Coming to Thursday, we're gonna go with the old standard Throwback Thursday. But there's so many different ways you could actually slice this throwback kind of conundrum. What about throwing knives? Perfect for Throwback Thursday. What about fishing knives? Maybe they're not big enough, you want to throw them back? Yeah, little angling joke right there.
Now you're just fishing.
Yeah, might be. Maybe it's a knife you want to throw back, like Boca Mermaid, perhaps. But discontinued stuff, for example, I've got a nice Delica 3 right here, which has seen some miles with me. ATS 55 blade, slightly more compact than the Delica 4, super sweet. So discontinued knives, vintage, like true vintage knives. This one actually is really cool. This is a Camillus made USN Mark II, dated from somewhere between late 1944 to mid 1945, if I'm remembering correctly. Didn't even have an edge on it when I got this knife. It still had its, as manufactured state before the final edge was put on, and I thought maybe I should leave it like that, but I thought, nah. A knife like this deserves an edge. Great thing for Throwback Thursday. One last kind of angle you could take with this, not an angler joke, one other possible option. Something that was, early on in your knife journey, so to speak, that kind of throwback. And for me, that would be this right here. It's a Camillus BSA Whittler, which is the first real knife I ever had. It is really cool. Made in New York. This may have been made by Schrade, actually, for Camillus. I'm not sure at that time. I know they made this sometimes themselves in-house and sometimes from the other US factory. That was pretty commonplace back in the glory days of the slip joint. Carbon steel blades on these, Delrin handles, but hey, what a throwback that is. That's a lot of fun. Throwback Thursday, Friday, we gotta go with Fixed Blade Friday, don't we? And I could throw another Nessmuck here on the table, but I'll save that for Saturday. I'm gonna go with my skipjack for today. Pocket fixed blade. This one has jigged bone handles. This is one of the first run pieces made for me by LT Wright, of course. I love a Nessmuck. Stay tuned, I should say, folks out there. I should have some news in the next couple of months on sort of the next iteration, next evolution of the skipjack design. That's all I can say for now, but keep your eyes out. Next up, it's a pocket fixed blade. I should show the pocket sheath, shouldn't I? Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now, Saturday. We could have gone with slip joint Saturday. That's a thing too, but I wanted to come up with something different. So we're gonna go with stagger day. Like stag handles, like fixed, folding, handmade production.
Stagger is what I usually do Saturdays.
That's good. You got a little bit of a problem sometimes, Thomas. Friday nights, but that's another channel we gotta go through with that stuff. But stag for stagger day. We're gonna go with this LT Wright Camp Muck right here. And this one is special for me. Amongst all of my nest mucks, this is one of the most special. You folks have seen this before, way back in the day. I think right around, well, it would have been right around when we got 100,000 subscribers. Actually, I can't remember if I showed this on that video or not, but this was to celebrate 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. And the handles are quite chunky, and they were inspired by that old maroon burgundy shirt that I wore early on in the channel days here. So you got the shirt, it had orange and white, accents on it, or like white piping and the orange logo for the KnifeCenter on it, and then the stag bolsters here, this old mug right here. That is a really cool knife, celebrating a really cool achievement. And it's fun to look at this right now because we are approaching, getting kind of close to 400,000 now, which is insane to me. So if you haven't subscribed, I don't often, I don't do that YouTuber things like, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. Some folks, really have to, or really, go gung-ho on that sort of thing. I don't. I figure if you want to subscribe, you will. But right now, it'd be really cool to get to 400 before the end of the year. Don't know if we'll make it, but we might. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do.
Whack that button.
Down there. And then finally, that leaves us with Sunday, and there's not another knife on the table because Sunday is going to be Sharpen Sunday. Make sure you're ready for the week to come. Get your tools in tip-top shape. There you go. Those are my knife days of the week. Thank you, Malachi, for your question. Now, we're going to go to someone who you met in our Work Sharp Professional Precision Adjust competition video, Gary, upstairs with a question.
David, my question is, with Fixed Blade Friday coming up, if you could design your ultimate bushcraft knife, what would it be?
Talking about Fixed Blade Friday. Yes. Well, it's funny. I have designed some kind of, quote unquote, bushcraft knives that are kind of hybrid designs, bridging the gap between like, quote unquote, ultimate bushcraft knife or true bushcraft knife and something else. Because there's so many companies out there, I think, that are already doing like an ultimate bushcraft knife so perfectly well. And you can do bushcraft with just about anything. You could do bushcraft with this Camillus K-bar right here, quote unquote K-bar. But when we think of bushcraft knife, just like survival knife as a genre, there are some hallmarks that I think are truly the best at what they are. Bushcraft knife is typically part of a larger system of tools you have available to you to do your primarily wood carving, if we're talking bushcraft specifically. So this LT Wright Genesis here is a great example. 3.5 to 4.5 inch blade is a good sweet spot. This one right here is just over 4 inches. Spear point blade, so you've got a center line tip, which allows you to do drilling stuff with it very easily. You can do non-Scandi ground bushcraft knives, but archetypally the Scandi grind is like the thing. That's the perfect bushcraft grind because you're going to be doing a lot of wood carving, and that Scandi grind is perfect and very effective at said task. And then comfortable handles, so you can carve with them for hours without getting hot spots. The broomstick style handle on this Genesis is not the only way to do it, but it is done exceptionally well here on this LT Wright. Finished by hand, nice and smooth, no hot spots. The micarta gives you a little bit of traction, so it's not super slippery, and nice and neutral. You can do the different grips, that sort of thing. Full tang, it's up for debate whether it needs to be full tang or not for a quote unquote bushcraft knife. But the heavier duty ones, the full tang knife is definitely going to give you a little more strength right there. But my hybrid designs have a lot of these features, but a little more different, shall we say. I don't know, maybe one of those will come out in the future as well. Remains to be seen. But thank you, Gary, for your question. Those are the things I think make an ultimate bushcraft knife. Plenty of options to choose from already. All right, now, Seth V, my occasional co-host here on the channel, he's got a question for us.
So we know why knives make it onto the new knives table. They're the coolest ones that just hit our shelves. But what makes you take a knife off the new knives table?
All right, this is a hard question actually. So the thing I've found over my time here at the KnifeCenter, over time learning how to do this video presentation thing, because when I first started here, I'd never done it before. Thomas has some of the old footage to prove it, which we hope will never
yeah.
never see the light of day. The thing with pretty much any knife that makes it onto the table is there's someone out there that this knife could be right for them. Just because you're in the market for, titanium frame lock with 20 CV blades, real premium quality, doesn't mean there's not someone out there who that $30 CRKT is perfect for. So I try to keep a lot of my personal preferences out of things. We've all got biases we have to work around. That's inescapable. That's part of being human. So I try to remain neutral, but I try to keep more than that, my personal preferences out of it. I'm showing you what it is. You get to decide whether it's right for you. Sometimes if I think something's exceptional, I'll get a little more effusive about it. But sometimes, on rare occasions, there will be stuff that just doesn't make it on to the table. And that just kind of goes hand in hand with being a retailer's YouTube channel. We have relationships to maintain, and I'm not going to get up here and fully drag something through the mud. You will be able to kind of hear the negatives I think about a thing if you kind of read between the lines of what I'm saying or listen to what I particularly am not saying about a knife. You can always look at things from that perspective. But sometimes, we've had stuff out here, getting back to Seth's question, where I just have to take it off the table. Whether there's significant fit and finish problems, and in those cases, luckily because of those relationships we have with manufacturers, we can send stuff back, have them look at it. Sometimes whole batches of things have gotten kind of tweaked and corrected because we've kept those lines of communication open. But sometimes they just, there's fit and finish issues. Sometimes things I think are just dangerous. There's some products out there that I just can't get up here and really put forward on a presentation. And thankfully, the owners here at the Knife Center, my bosses, have been fully supportive in me when I make those decisions, say, I just can't put this on the table. I can't showcase it. And I wish I could be more specific. I'm not going to give specific examples that would run counter to why we take things off the table in the first place. But just so you know, there are things out there that don't make it onto the table. Did that answer the question?
I kind of wish I had B-roll for this.
Of the stuff that I didn't like? Yeah, I do get kind of frustrated sometimes. I'll shake my head. It's like, why did they... Oh, this is bad. Anyway, no, it's best that we don't. All right, now we come to our lightning round for today. First, questions from one of our product specialists, Mr. Joshua.
What's the difference between CPM 154 and 154 CM?
Thanks for bringing this one up. I know it's something we've kind of talked about before, or I bring up whenever we show a CPM 154 knife, because it is important to remember that 154 CM and CPM 154, which you can find on this SIG X5 made by Hogue, they are not the same thing. Elementally, percentages of component elements, they are the same, but 154 CM is a traditional ingot steel, and CPM 154 is a particle metallurgy version of that steel. And so you get some differing traits out of the same makeup because of that construction process, essentially. The biggest one you're going to notice is CPM 154 is going to be considerably more tough than 154 CM because of its more uniform and smaller grain structure. Edge retention should be about the same, although because of the increased toughness on CPM 154, the edge can stand up to kind of rolling and chipping a little bit better, and therefore that could make your quote-unquote edge retention seem a little longer. And also, by the same token, the tougher CPM 154 can support a thinner edge than 154 CM, which means thinner edges tend to feel like they last longer. So you can academically get more edge retention out of CPM 154, even though their wear resistance should technically be about the same. But yes.
Would you think it like a turkey?
Okay, you've lost me.
So it's the same bird, but it comes out different when you roast it or you deep fry it.
That's true, but that'd be more of like a heat treat issue. Like you should, if you're going to complete this analogy, it should be something like a free range turkey versus like one of those lab grown synthetic meat specimens, perhaps.
We'll go with that.
Delicious. All right.
Smoke your turkeys anyway.
No. We don't have time to get into this. You brine your turkey, and then we're not getting into this. All right. One of our warehouse folks had a question. We're going to go over there, or Thomas did earlier when he was filming this, to see our friend Matthew.
What's the best knife for someone who doesn't really like knives?
So the easy, perfect answer for this is a Swiss Army knife. Like, everybody loves a Swiss Army knife, I think. That Swiss Army knives, you know, in the pantheon of the edged EDC stuff out there, tends to get a pass from non-knife folks in a way that's surprising and refreshing. It's also the way in to kind of open that door up. And the perfect one, like, had to come up with one thing for everyone, the classic SD, because it is so small and innocuous, and yet it is super handy with a blade, flathead screwdriver, and nail file, along with a pair of scissors and toothpick and tweezers. Tons of different colors, tons of different graphic options. These are part of our Knife Center exclusive Leela Ray Dragon editions, artist signature paintings, essentially, on Swiss Army knives. So that is the one right there. For non-knife people, what was the wording you used? You know, the best knife for someone who doesn't really like knives is a Swiss Army knife. Perfect for gifting to those folks on your list this year who aren't knife people, or maybe even slightly against knives. Swiss Army knife might be the Trojan horse that gets them into it over time. Anyway, now we have our last question, which is, of course, as always, our most serious question, which comes from our customer service manager, Janie. Take it away.
What did the cook say when trying to use a dull knife? This isn't cutting it.
We're so proud. She could host this any day of the week if she keeps that up. Well, that's all we have for episode 150. Thanks for 150 episodes of, well, I was going to say success, but that sounds a little, a little boastful. But thank you for helping us keep this series going for 150 episodes. You guys aren't slowing down. I've got, a lot of questions in the bank. But I'm still searching. I always search for the most inspiring ones any given week. So don't slow down. Keep your questions coming. The comment section down below is just a click away or a scroll away, something like that. Leave your questions down below. Let me know what you thought of the answers. If you have different knife days of the week that you'd like to suggest, throw them down there as well. And to get your hands on some of these things, where we can link to things that you can purchase right now from the Knife Center, we'll leave links in the description down below. And while you're over there, don't forget about our Knife Rewards program, because if you're going to spend some money on yourself or someone else this time of year, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next knife. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. Thanks to everyone else here in the building that keeps this operation going, that allows me to just sit back here and talk about knives to you folks there in YouTube land. It's a good job, and I really appreciate having it, and I really appreciate all of you. See you next time.
So the least you can do is subscribe.
It was a nice, sincere moment, and you had to cheapen it there at the end. Fine. That's Thomas for you. There.